PlayStation Plus has finally relaunched in Asia territories, excluding Japan, and so we can finally take a look at the full catalog, at least in these regions, and also play more PS1 and PSP games, check out some trophies, check out games that don't have trophies, run some tests, all that good stuff. Now, a lot of you probably saw this already, but we did take a look at Oddworld Abe's Odyssey on PS5 before the PS Plus relaunch happened. That's where we did a video on the video presets, rewind, the save states, all that stuff, and we'll still do that here, but primarily we're going to start off with looking at the official product page, the all-new PlayStation Plus, and before we really start surfing this thing, we should note right now that there is going to be some regional variances that we have to account for here. So, for example, I'm on the Malaysia store, and this territory does not have any streaming whatsoever. So no PS3 games. That means there's no PS Plus Premium on the storefront, only PS Plus Deluxe. So there's not going to be, 700 plus games. I imagine that number that Sony originally quoted was for the North American and Europe store, and maybe the Japanese store as well. But we can't judge too harshly just yet. But the first thing I did want to test, because this account is not subscribed just yet, is that, well, just to confirm more or less, do they honor the purchases like they said they would? And this account is a bit interesting in that on PlayStation 3, when I went to go buy Ape Escape, it was the Japanese version, but here on PS5, it's English. So we'll see if that purchase is honored, and it is. That's great. Actually, that's a pretty somewhat unique circumstance. So again, it was a different version. It was the only version available on PS3 was the Japanese version. So they're honoring it here, but I also wanted to test this the reverse way. So you can see Jumping Flash is already purchased. I bought this here on PlayStation 5. Then, and I already know the answer to this, but I went back to PlayStation 3, and no, that purchase was not honored backwards. So, but that was also something where Jumping Flash English on PS4, PS5, going back to the Malaysia store, it was only available in Japanese. So, not entirely sure if that's going to be the same case for every storefront, but just something to keep in mind. You might want to, if you want both, or I guess all three versions, so PS3, 4, 5, you might want to start your purchase on PlayStation 3 and then go forward, because it looks like you can't go backwards. Alright, let's go for a 1-month deluxe plan. And this is where it's already going to try and push you into that 12-month plan, because it's going to be a lot cheaper. So 1 month was 50 ringgit, but here it can work out to 25.75 a month, but we're going to skip that. So now that we're a current subscriber, we can see that it now says PS Plus Deluxe, and we can start surfing, which we've got the game catalog, the classic games, game trials. That's pretty self-explanatory. In fact, let's just take a look at these real quick, because there's only a handful here, and we saw most of these on the PS blog, like Horizon, Cyberpunk, Uncharted, Biomutant we actually had before the PS Plus relaunch. So, and there's some new stuff in here, like Hot Wheels. I might actually download that. I wanted to buy that one, but yeah, a few trials so far. Another game catalog, which I would guess this and this is the extra category. I don't know, we'll find out in a second here. Exclusive discounts, of course, and then right here would be your monthly games if you are a PS Plus Essential member, which is basically what we have today, PS Plus normally. But here's all the benefits laid out for you nice and clean. So game trials, Classics Catalog, PlayStation Plus Game Catalog, the PlayStation Plus Collection, which you would get if you're a PS Plus member on PS5, if you're a PS5 owner. Monthly games, exclusive discounts, exclusive packs like DLC and things like that. Of course, online multiplayer, game help, cloud storage, and share play. And you can see the white labels up top tell you what category they belong to. So those are all essential, that's our extra, and then here is our 2 deluxe benefits. And we've got a further breakdown of more software, so Classics Catalog, PlayStation Plus Game Trials, recommendations and things like that. We'll avoid that, but this is what a lot of people want to see right away, so let's jump into this. And this is where it is a bit weird how Sony has categorized some of these. So at the very least, they did show you exactly what you want to see for this, because on the PS blog they had 2 sections, the classic games between PS1 and PSP, but then they also threw in the PS2 games alongside a bunch of native PS4 ports of, say, older PSP titles, or even PS3 games that got like remasters, right, like Bioshock and things like that. That was really strange, but at the very least we can see in this one page on the storefront, this is what people want to see. So PS1, 2, and PSP, and yes, it's it's small, so that's rather unfortunate. But we've got the Jack games here from the PS2 program on PS4 from a while ago, so these, you might already have these, a lot of people do. Toy Story, Mr. Driller, Tekken 2, Oddworld, Worms, Everybody's Golf, Intelligent Cube, Ape Escape, Echo Chrome. This is the only PSP version on the Malaysia store, or the only PSP game, I should say. So this is the PSP version of Echo Chrome. So we've got that, and Jumping Flash, and also Wild Arms, which I believe that wasn't in the blog post, so that's really cool to see. But let me start downloading these first before we start surfing more of the store. Okay, so what is the difference between this catalog and that catalog? This catalog just has a bunch of genres, PlayStation Plus games catalog, all games, okay. But this one has... This just takes me to a blanket list of all the games. Okay, that's the difference. And we've got a decent amount, but yeah, this is not large at all, so that 700 plus number is likely reserved for North America and Europe, I would guess. So here's where they separate it, right? Classic games from PSP, PlayStation, and PS2 on that row. And then down here is the remasters of, you know, like PlayStation 3 games, and, you know, like we've got like a Vita port here, right? Gravity Rush Remastered. So they're including all that in the overall classics breakdown, but there is a difference between remastered and truly like an older classic title. So there's a decent amount here, not a ton, obviously. But Loco Roco, so we've got, you know, native PSP remasters, and those aren't included in the, again, in the this category here. Here's the breakdown of collections, and just another straight up list of games, all the games. Oh, this might include everything. So this, I think, is what we're looking for. Yeah, let's count this. 30, 35, 39, what? We've got 339 games, somewhere around there, if I counted correctly. So there's there's obviously a big difference when it comes to regions here. So this is missing all the PS3 games. And we already saw some very notable examples of, you know, PSP and PS1 games that we know are coming, but for whatever reason are not in this catalog, like Syphon Filter or Ridge Racer 2. So that's why it's really important to understand that, at least for Malaysia, it looks like, and the Asia territory, this looks like a relatively soft launch. Oh, there's Syphon Filter, not in the classics category. What is going on here? That's so bizarre. Okay, we'll download this. So, what do I gotta manually search for Ridge Racer 2? Well, it knows I want some classic games, but it's not showing me what I want. Very, very bizarre. But, okay, but let's talk about the actual library here. So, at least for what we're seeing, right? No Konami. No Bethesda, I think. Not seeing any Activision. So in terms of big publishers, that might give us an idea of what we could expect when it launches in the West. But could also be, it could be different, you know, you never know. It's just that right now, those are some big publishers that are noticeably absent. Oh, there's Crash. The Instant. Yeah, well, that's still in the PS Plus collection, I believe. Chocobo Mystery Dungeon. So let's touch on trophies real quick. This is something where we finally have a... This is pretty much the answer, which it's optional. Completely optional, because the running theory was that Sony first-party games will always have them, but for third parties, it's up to them. That's not entirely true. So you can see we've got a trophy list for Hot Shots, Intelligent Cube, Wild Arms, Syphon Filter, and Ape Escape, and all of these have platinums, so believe me, that's awesome, and I'm really psyched. Trust me, I'm so pumped. I mean, I was expecting none of these games to have trophies, so having anything is good. But it is entirely optional. So Echo Chrome as a PSP game, first-party title, no trophies. Also, it's not strictly PSP games. Jumping Flash, for whatever reason, no trophies. So it's really something where it's just if they decide to do it or not. But that is good. So not having a hard requirement is really going to allow, you would assume, more titles to flow naturally into the service. Because again, it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 months per game to add trophies. It's just not that easy. Not as easy as some would think. So this might encourage more developers and publishers to agree with having their classics get re-released on PS4 and PS5 if the cost to get them there is not that high. Alright, so let's get this out of the way. It's confirmed. They're using the PAL 50Hz games. Some of them. And they're using them, you know, not in PAL territories. So that's the really upsetting thing. I popped a trophy, but yeah, this doesn't look very good at all. It's really disappointing. And at least from the product codes I was checking out, we've got the PAL versions for Jumping Flash, Intelligent Cube, Wild Arms, both the Worms, Ape Escape, of course. That was the big one that everybody spotted right away. So yeah, this is disappointing. It's weird too, because like, I don't know how they did such a good, the effort was really good with the all this, the rewind, load and save, also the video presets which we can change right away on the fly. Now we've got a nice little CRT-esque, you know, interlaced scanline video filter going on, and it looks nice. That's what really impressed me. But seeing that they are still using 50Hz games, I just don't know how they dropped the ball on this one, because the game does not look very good right now. Disappointing. After spending all day playing the roundup of new classics, I'm somewhere in the middle of good and bad. The good primarily being that many aspects of this rollout were handled correctly. We've got individual purchasing, fair prices, prior ownership from a decade ago being honored, optional trophies, and of course the settings like the save states, rewinds, and video presets. If you had asked me years ago how Sony would handle bringing PS1 or PSP games to modern consoles, I wouldn't have expected this much. Perhaps that says a lot about how Sony has been in recent years, but they oftentimes do make questionable decisions. Which brings us to the bad. There's really no getting around it. The 50Hz PAL games do not feel great. And the difference is quite noticeable when jumping between titles. For Ape Escape, going back to my original PS1 NTSC disc emulated on PS3, the controls felt far more responsive. That, and the game was just much easier on the eyes. Despite the emulation on PS3 not having the sharp up-res treatment that PS4 or PS5 will, it was just a lot easier to play there. Thankfully, some games are on TSC versions, like Tekken 2. This felt a lot better, and looks great too. You can also get a better sense of how much these games are cleaned up when compared to the PS3's emulation efforts, which, mind you, playing on PS3 isn't bad per se. There's always a certain charm to playing the game as close as it was originally without it being native PS1 hardware, and PS3 is great for that. Though I do find the video presets are definitely something that are worth experimenting with. Abe's Odyssey, I found it looked pretty good with the retro filter, but here on Tekken, where the game is so noticeably sharp, it just doesn't really look right at all. Syphon filter I think could go either way. It looks good with or without the retro filter.
Leon, Romer's men have locked down the subway entrance security gates.
You'll have to find the bypass switch. See if you can find a service elevator.
Jumping Flash is another situation where it's the PAL version, and this was easily the worst experience thus far. For a game that has so much fast movement and verticality in a first-person perspective, the frame pacing issues are a massive pain and just overall made it very uncomfortable to play, which isn't necessarily going to be displayed perfectly in this capture, but when it's right in front of you, it's not going to look very good. As far as the emulation quality goes, now that we have more games to try, I'll again say most of what I did check out seems good. As in, I didn't spot anything out of the ordinary when it came to any sort of potential emulation issues. No popping objects, missing shadows, or unintended visual effects. But again, I won't have the best eye for that sort of thing, so over time issues may be identified, but for the time being everything looks fairly decent up-resed on PS5.
Good luck.
Wild Arms is also the PAL version, but at the very least this game is slow-paced by default, so it's more of a manageable experience. But it does highlight one feature I'd love to see come to this initiative, and that would be a fast-forward option. If we do get more JRPGs, that would instantly shoot up the replay value on those games big time. And that's more or less it for now. There's a lot of good here that's starting to get overshadowed rather quickly by the 50Hz problem. We'll see what happens when the service rolls out to Japan and then the West, but for the time being, I'm still feeling good about the classics and the service overall. There's still a lot here to like, and it could be so much more if Sony follows through. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't just yet, please consider subscribing for the best PlayStation news, reviews, and updates that are here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mystic Ryan, and that is it. I will see you all in my next video. You take it easy.